When you were finding people that could be helped, what did you physically do with them?
So it was so chaotic. I remember checking the ones, most ones I checked were dead. I remember, of course, the one that I will always remember is the little girl. I had to step over her because I knew she was gone and continue on, which is absolutely the hardest thing I had to do. But going back on my training, I had to save the ones that I knew I could try and save. So with the absolute knowing that this was far beyond what we're capable of, I exited the theater and I got a hold of Sergeant Redford. I said, we need to start getting these people to the hospital now.
And what did you do?
I went to my patrol car. I emptied it out what I could to make more room for as many people as I could put in there. I got into it. I drove it up to the rear of the exit, and I started loading people into my car.
Who do you recall the kinds of people that you put into your car on this trip?
A couple of them, yes. On the first trip, yes.
How many trips did you ultimately make?
4.
And 4 trips to hospitals?
4 trips to hospitals.
Did you go to more than one hospital during that?
2 separate hospitals.
How many people did you transport?
6.
So going to the first trip, how many people did you take on the first trip?
2.
Did another officer go with you as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Please describe the passengers, the people that you took to the hospital on that trip.
One was a female who appeared to be He tried to jump out the car as I'm running code, lights and siren to the hospital because he wants to go back to get his daughter. So I have to not only drive, now I have to grab him by his shirt and hold him in from jumping out of the car. Knowing the entire time that I just wanted to tell him she's gone, but I couldn't do it. So we got to the hospital and we unloaded the patients. And I let them know. I believe I was the first one there. I can't say for sure. I didn't see any other officers or any other patrol cars. I told them, you're going to have a lot more gunshot victims coming in, so be prepared.
Did you learn who the woman was who was in the back seat of your car?
Yes, later on.
What was her name?
Ashley Mosier.
And the person who was in the front seat, did you learn his name?
I never got his name.
After you finished dropping the first 2 people off at Aurora South, what did you do?
I aired on the radio to Sergeant Redford, asked if we had more patients need to be transported. He said, get back here now. So I proceeded code, lights and siren, back to the theater.
Were more people put in your car?
Yes, I drove back to the back of the theater on the east side again, and 2 more people were loaded up into my car, both in the back.
Do you recall anything about their injuries that you observed?
I just recall them being covered in blood and moaning and screaming, and that's it.
Do you know what gender they were?
I don't know, race, color, creed,
Were you
sex.
did you have anyone else with you on that trip?
No, ma'am.
Where did you go?
Aurora South again.
When you got to the hospital, did you drop them off?
Yes, I did.
What did you do next?
I tried to get back on the radio, but it was so busy now, I decided to go back to the theater in case I needed more. I went back to the back side of the theater again.
Did you pick up another person to take to the hospital?
Yes, I did.
Do you know who that person was?
Yes, ma'am.
What was his name?
Caleb Medley.
Can you describe his condition, what you observed about him?
He had significant amounts of trauma to his face. He was unrecognizable. I thought he was gone. But then I could hear him breathing, so he's not gone. Covered in blood, moaning, gurgling on his own blood, aspirating.
Where did you take him?
I took him to University Hospital.
Why did you go to University rather than Aurora South?
I figured by now Aurora South was being inundated by patients and victims, so I figured we need to start putting them someplace else so they can get the proper treatment.
Did you talk with him while you were driving to the hospital?
Yes. He made some of the most awful noises I've ever heard. I could tell he was dying. I could tell he was gurgling on his own blood. And then he would stop, and then I heard nothing. So I yelled at him. And I yelled at him, "Don't fucking die on me. Don't fucking die on me." And he would start breathing again, and I would start breathing again. And I would continue. And then he would stop again. And then I would yell at him, "Don't fucking die on me. We're almost there." And he started breathing again. And then I got to the hospital.
When you got to the hospital, did somebody help you unloading him?
Yes. University was already ready. Somebody must have let them know that this was happening. And they were outside waiting. They had gurneys and everything else. So me and some of the hospital staff, I believe, unloaded him and put him on a gurney. And I headed back.
When you got back to the theater, did you make another trip?
I did.
Do you recall anything about the last person that you
No,
transported?
just covered in blood. Really wasn't saying anything. Was quiet. Wasn't quite sure. Just laying in the back of the seat. Just covered in blood. Not sure what the injuries were.
What hospital did you go to?
University again.
Once you got this person to the hospital, what did you do?
I aired on the police radio to Sergeant Redfern, "If he needs me to come back, are there any more patients?" Excuse me. And at that time, he said, "No, I think everybody's been transported." So I decided to stay on scene at University, take command and control over there. I was the only officer for quite a while, and patient after patient after patient just kept coming in.